Hi, folks. I'm Sarah from the Claiming Liberty blog and the Claiming Liberty podcast, and I am here today recording my very first vlog. As I said on, as I've said on my podcast before, interacting with folks in a multimedia fashion isn't generally intuitive to me, but I thought it was worth giving things a try for sure. So I'm trying my first ever vlog. You might wonder what prompted this whole thing. Well, for those of you who don't know, I've been a long time proponent of low carb eating, healthy living through low carb eating, ketogenic diets, clean eating, etc., etc. And I've struggled with my weight all my life. But always it came back to low carb and keto. And last September, I decided I'd had enough of being off the rails, so I decided to recommit to a low carb journey with a focus on keto, which was something that I had never tried before with such determination. Let's just put it that way. So I started on September 8th of 2017 at 287.6 pounds. That wasn't actually my highest weight ever. I had reached my highest weight ever earlier that summer at 290.8. But when I decided to recommit, my weight was my weight, right? In the first month, I lost almost 14 pounds. But in the next month, I lost just 2 pounds. And as of last Friday, I had still only lost 27 pounds. Now, some folks might say, only, Sarah, you didn't gain all your weight overnight. Why are you being so impatient? Well, I had admittedly seen all sorts of health benefits from going ketogenic, better blood sugars, better energy, better brain clarity. I had seen some health conditions that I had improve. I used to have horrendous pain in my joints. I used to have horrendous reflux. A lot of those things got better, which I knew they would, but the scale wasn't really moving and inches weren't really coming off. Now, while part of my goal in going keto was health gains, weight loss was also an important part. And I was willing to be patient, but only to a point, right? Because while I believe that I have made serious improvements in my health, I also believe that hanging around at 260 pounds for the rest of my life when I'm only 5'3.5" is probably not one of my healthier strategies for getting through life, right? So I'd been doing a lot of thinking about my journey thus far. I hadn't eaten anything I wasn't supposed to. I was paying very close attention to my macros. I was testing my blood for ketones. I was testing my blood sugar. I appeared to be doing everything right, but the scale and the inches weren't really doing anything. For about 9 weeks, I bounced around the same 6 pounds or so for 9 or 10 weeks, and I thought, okay, I'm not going to give up. That's not the kind of person I am, but I've got to shake things up a little bit. So I started giving some thoughts to intermittent fasting. I had considered that before, but never really took it too seriously. But I gave it a second look. I read Dr. Fung's Complete Guide to Fasting, and it gave me some really interesting food for thought. I have some friends who were having success with fasting, and I went to a group on Facebook and said, look, guys, I need to mix up my keto journey so that I can start, continuing to move the journey along towards health gains and weight loss. Anybody have any suggestions? And even there too, folks had stories remarkably similar to mine. I was doing all the right things, and the scale wasn't really moving the way I thought it should, so I introduced some intermittent fasting, and poof, the weight just started falling off. So I decided on Sunday. I was going to start intermittent fasting. Last Friday, I weighed 260.6. So as I said, that was a 27-pound weight loss from September of last year. I'm recording this video on March 1st now, just so folks know. March 1st of 2018. Anyway, I went ahead and took my weight on Friday like I normally do. I'd given it some thought on Saturday, and Sunday I decided, okay, I'm going to start intermittent fasting with an 18-6 window. And what that mean, or with an 18-6 strategy. What that means is I would spend 18 hours not eating, and then I would spend 6 hours where I could eat, but I would limit my eating to the first hour and a half of that window and the last hour and a half of that window. I did that on Sunday. Monday, my weight dropped even more. I did that on Monday. Tuesday, my weight dropped even more. I did it on Tuesday. Well, the interesting thing about Tuesday was, okay, so I had fully intended to do an 18-6 thing, but I ate my lunch at about 2 o'clock on Tuesday, and by the time the end of my eating window came along, I wasn't hungry, so I thought, hey, what the heck, I'll just do a 24-hour fast. Well, 2 o'clock on Wednesday came around. Oh, by the way, Wednesday morning I had lost more weight. And this whole time my ketones were great, my blood sugar was better than it had been in a while, and I was feeling fantastic. So Wednesday, 2 o'clock came around, where technically I could have eaten if I wanted to, and I just thought, you know what the heck? I'm just going to try an extended fast. I've never done it before. And I'm still feeling so great, so I'm just going to continue this until I don't feel fantastic. So that brings us to Thursday afternoon. It's almost 2 o'clock. I'm still continuing to feel fantastic. For me, the definition of this fast has been water, salt, and I've been having 1 cup of bulletproof coffee in the morning. Now, for those of you who don't know what bulletproof coffee is, I'm using the original definition from Dave Asprey, which is, fresh brewed coffee, grass-fed butter, and MCT oil. So it's pure fat. It's not going to cause an insulin issue or anything like that. Remarkably, in the 6 days that I've changed I guess it's only 5 days that I've changed things up, but since I took my weight last Friday, in these 6 days I have lost 6.2 pounds. And even better, this morning when I took my morning fasting blood sugar, it was 89. Now I know that's not impressive to a lot of folks who aren't diabetic like I am, but a blood sugar of 89, I haven't seen anything under, despite doing keto, low carb, etc., I haven't seen anything under 105 to 110 in years. So clearly something is going right, and I couldn't be happier. So I'm going to continue this on, and I'll probably do more video updates specifically about my keto journey as I mix things up with fasting. I'm sure I'll mix it up with some other things too. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to do my very first video on something that turns out to be really exciting, because in the past, all my journeys with keto or low carb, by the time I've gotten to this point and stopped with the weight loss, I just gave up out of frustration and then gained all the weight back and then some, right? So I am determined for things to not go that way this time, and I want to share my journey with folks, so hopefully some other folks can learn from me. I also want to share something real quick, just as an aside at the end. The reason why I've avoided video technology is because I'm blind. So if the video quality is not fantastic, because I don't have anybody helping me with it, it's not something that I can really do anything about. And at the moment, I'm not even going to do any editing. So at the end of my video, you might hear my accessibility talking in the background, but that's just keeping it real, right? So until next time, I can't wait to see y'all around. Please like this video. If you're interested in more about me, my family, my journey, hop on over to claimingliberty.com. There's all kinds of interesting stuff there. There's a lot more to me than just my keto journey, so you might find some things that are interesting. But I hope that folks will stick with me along the journey. Until next time.